name is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president of United in Peace, Inc. We got a very interesting show. I know there's a lot of things that's happening. There's the violence. There's Russia trying to start a world war. There's senseless shootings and killings in our community. But what's important we must not lose sight of is us having the right to vote, and we must make sure that we elect the Democratic governor, that we elect a Democratic Secretary of State, because Donald Trump and the Republican Party is trying to make sure that they elect Secretary of States that's going to reverse the decisions of the elections in 2022. You seeing what's happening in 19 other states where they're suppressing the African American vote? We can't be tricked because they went and found an African American in Aurora to give the impression that that's their agenda for diversity. We can't get tricked by African Americans saying that we need a black governor that's a Republican, that don't believe in democracy. I haven't heard him tell the Republican senators that they need to vote for the Voting Rights Act. No Republican voted for it. And 2 Democrats sided with the Republicans. But not one Republican senator voted for it. And this young guy that they're talking about running against J.B. Pritzker for governor, and they're going to spend all kind of money to damn fool us as a people, are the same people running his campaign that was running Ronna's campaign. And when Ronna became governor, he ran the state of Illinois into the ground. For 2 years, no budget. And I know everybody got the right to their opinion. But it's hard for me to wrap it around my head how African Americans want to be a Trump type of Republican. It's hard. When you see what the Supreme Court judge, the only black Supreme Court judge, has done, and I'm reading in the papers and I'm seeing on the news what his wife is doing, and the decisions come back for the Supreme Court to make a determination on what's right and what's wrong. I understand love, because I love my wife dearly. The issues that's being brought to you, my viewing audience, was put together by the producer and the director of this show, The Bradley Report, none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., Terry Marsh Bradley, my wife. So without further ado, I want to say to God be the glory. This is my story. I want you to look, listen, and learn. Brother Mari, let's go with this story right here. Judge Diane Shelley appointed HUD Regional Administrator for Region 5. Great choice. Great choice. But with her being appointed, it created another judiciary seat within the Fifth Sub-Circuit. And it's been brought to my attention that attorney, could you go up to the next story, Brother Marty? Up to, no, go up to the next story. There's another story. I'm gonna put that in there. Hold on 1 minute. Hold on, where it say Timothy Wright. Yes. Okay, right here. Judge Shelley's appointment as HUD Regional Administrator creates a new Fifth Sub-Circuit vacancy to be filled in the 2022 election. That's a wonderful thing. At least it might create a Fifth Sub-Circuit vacancy, which it has. Depending on whether or not the legislator rounds through a new sub-circuit map for 2022, and depending on whether any such last-minute renewal is upheld in the courts. Attorney Timothy W. Wright III has received support and endorsements for this Fifth Sub-Circuit vacancy created by Judge Shelley's appointment as HUD's Regional Administrator. He got the endorsement from Congressman Bobby Rush, Congressman Jesus Garcia, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, the 3rd Ward Alderman Pat Dow, the Cook County Board President / Cook County Democratic Party Chairman Tony Pretwinkle, Illinois State Senator Matty Hunter, the 6th Ward Alderman Roderick Sawyer, the 17th Ward Alderman David Moore, the 16th Ward Alderman Stephanie Coleman, and Cook County Commissioner John Daly. All these people are supporting and endorsing Attorney Timothy Wright. Could you, Brother Mark, could you go up a little bit? I want you to hit this link down right there. Yes, I had a chance to interview him at the Martin Luther King's dinner. You might hit the in Cook County Judiciary. His name is Timothy Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also an urban translator. We at an event where we celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday. I'm with a friend of mine, and he's running for the 5th Sub-Circuit in Cook County Judiciary. His name is Timothy W. Wright. I call him Tim, but with your votes, we can help make it where he's Judge Wright. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Brother Wright introduce himself to you.
Thank you there, Bradley. My name is Timothy W. Wright III, and I'm running for Circuit Court Judge from the 5th Judicial Sub-Circuit, which is on the south side of Chicago. It runs from 25th Street on the north down to 75th Street on the south, from the lake over to Ashland. So that's the 5th Judicial Sub-Circuit, and I'm running for Judge there. And so thank you for having me on your program.
No problem. What's important, just as important with you running, is the endorsements that you have been given. I understand Chairman of the Democratic Party and the President of Cook County Board, Tony Prattwinkle, is in support of you.
Tony Prattwinkle has endorsed me. Maddie Hunter, who's a State Senator Maddie Hunter, who's also the 20th Ward Committeeman, has endorsed me. Pat Dow, who is head of the Budget Committee and City Council and committeeman of the 3rd Ward, has endorsed me. David Moore, your prior guest, who is the alderman and now candidate for treasurer, has endorsed me.
He's running for Secretary of State.
He's not running Secretary of State.
Right.
And so he's endorsed me. From what I understand that the former chairman of the Black Caucus in the City Council, Rod Sawyer,
right, that's good,
has endorsed me. And so there are a number of the committeemen and elected officials. I've also been endorsed by 3 Congress people.
Okay.
Congressman Bobby Rush has endorsed me. Congressman Jesus Garcia has endorsed me. Congresswoman Jan Schetkowski has endorsed me. And I expect to get the endorsement of Danny Davis, too.
Right.
So I think there have been a number of public officials, a number of elected officials, a number of committeemen within the 5th Judicial Subcircuit who have endorsed me. And I think that's just based upon the work that I have done over the years in service to that community. I think what's up for grabs now is the people's seat. And it's the people's seat because they have to vote as to who's going to become the next judge in that seat. And I think it's critical that we begin to understand the importance of the judiciary. I believe that the judiciary is the most important and significant branch of government now. We see what's happening with the other branches, but this is where people have to go for honesty, for truth, for the fair dispensation of justice. And I believe that it has a great impact on our community. You know, people ask me, how come you're not running for Congress? How come you're not doing this? I want to be where the people are. I want to be where the rubber meets the road. I want to be where we are capable of making a difference in our community. Our community has to step up, and I believe that having the right representation on the bench will help us to do that. A representation that is diverse. Diverse not only in color, but it's diverse in thought. I mean, we have, I think the last class of judges that have been seated, the great preponderance of them were prosecutors. I have nothing wrong to do with prosecutors. I think prosecutors are great, but I think that we need to mix it up. We need to have diversity. We need to have somebody with the community interests, and I think that's important. You know, this is King Day, and Dr. King talked about justice and love. And he said, justice is love and calculation. He says justice is love correcting that which offends love, that which prevents love. That's justice. And we need to have justice in our community. We need to have the fair dispensation of justice in our courts. And we need to have a vision for the community that allows us to move forward. I think that's important in that seat. Not only does a judge dispense justice and fair within the courtroom itself, but there has to be leadership in the community. I think that's true justice. That is love and calculation.
Right. You know, the fact that there are 2 seats now, that one has been opened up, and it's my understanding that people within that 5th sub-circuit is really pushing for both of you brothers to be on the bench because there's 2 seats now. How could you explain that, elaborate?
Yeah, recently, initially, when we first began this race, there was only 1 vacancy. There was 1 seat that we were all running for. And we don't even know how many candidates we're going to have in this race yet. But there was at least 1, and I made my intentions known.
Right.
that I was running for the circuit court seat in the 5th Judicial Sub-Circuit. And so what recently happened is that another judge from the 5th Sub-Circuit retired. That created 2 vacancies. And so that's where the opportunity came from. Okay. And based upon the creation of that vacancy, a number of the elected officials, the committee, came to me and offered me their support if I was to run for that position. So therefore, I decided that that's what I'm going to do.
Man, to God be the glory. To God be the glory. One last thing before I go and before I wrap it up. Share with the people a little thing about you, you know, because I've been knowing you for 40, almost 50 years. I've been knowing the man this long. This man that helped Mandela, I mean, really Nelson Mandela, you know what I mean, before he got out the joint and helped him along the joint. I mean, the man got a South African story. The man got a Bobby Rush type of story, Black Panther story, Harold Washington story. The man is just like New York. Was that the city with 99 stories or something?
Yeah, right. But no, man, look, here's the deal. Look, I grew up in Compton. You know what? I faced adversity growing up. You know, like a lot of brothers in the inner city and a lot of sisters in the inner city. You know, I had to deal with gangs coming up. But you know what? I persevered. I was shot. But I was able to go on, play football, go to college. But really, my life turned around. I met Congressman Harold Washington.
Right.
And I was in my second year of law school. You know, and I had worked with Angela Davis. I had worked with a bunch of other folk on issues that were important to our community. But I met Harold, and Harold spoke at this fundraiser, and what he said harkened back to what I saw in Martin Luther King. I thought what Harold was doing in the city of Chicago was the most important step forward since Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement. So I decided that I was going to leave California as a kid, and I actually came to Chicago and to clerk at the Federal District Court. I then worked for Mayor Washington. I was the assistant to the chief of staff, deputy director. I ran city council, and I was the first African-American commissioner of economic development. And so I was with Harold until he died. And I stayed on an additional year under Gene Sawyer because Sawyer asked me if I would stay with him. And I did, because I knew Sawyer would carry forth the same agenda that Mayor Washington had. So I stayed there. After Gene lost the office, I ended up going to South Africa, and I was one of the international attorneys that worked on the Constitution that led to the release of Mandela from prison. And then ultimately, I was a UN election monitor for that first election. But I've always been a fighter in the community. You know what? When there was the gang warfare in Robert Taylor, I was part of the group that went over there with the walking school bus.
That's right.
When they found contaminated water at Altgeld Garden, I was one of the attorneys. I was the attorney who filed a lawsuit against the dumps over there that was dumping that stuff and contaminating the groundwater, and we won. I've worked on nuclear engineering and construction law. So I've worked on a lot of things. I've worked for the benefit of this community. I've lived in that community. All my kids were born in that community. Every house I've owned or rented has been in that community. And so I'm not new to the community. I belong there. I've worked there. And I'm going to continue to work there to create a better life.
And then on this, you was also with our good friend when Jerry Butler ran for Cook County Commissioner, and my viewing audience, he knew that was the greatest campaign in both our lives. And then Jerry called me to come on and work and be a part of his staff. And the rest is history for me, for sure. I ended up getting a pardon from the governor. And that's why I'm the urban translator today. With that, I want to say to God be the glory. That's our story.
I remember you back.
You know, that was key for everyone to understand that we as a people got to be about our culture so that we can pass it down to our children and to our grandchildren. The next story that I want to get up on there is the Tony Prattwinkle. No, right here. Right there. That's good. Donnelly. I'm Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm the host of the Bradley Report. And we out here at Idlewild Country Club celebrating Martin Luther King holiday or his birthday. And you know, even though it's political season, but it's very important that I introduce you to a man that I feel is worthy of remaining on the bench of the Cook County Judiciary. This is my friend, Cook County Circuit Court Judge Donnelly. Some people call him Tom, but I know on the ballot it's going to be Thomas Moore Donnelly. But Judge Donnelly, could you let them know why you feel it's important that you remain on the bench, and let them know a little bit about you?
Well, I wanted to talk and share the most important recollection I have of Dr. King, and that is December 24th, 1968, after King was assassinated, 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve. I listened to the midnight mass, or the midnight preaching that Dr. King did in 1967. And that speech, that sermon, influenced the arc of my life in searching for justice and also searching for a way that love could make its way in the world. He talks about the three words in the New Testament for love: eros, philos, and agape, and how important agape is. And I think there should be a place in our court system to move towards agape. And that is why I believe, for instance, in restorative justice, because we're moving from punitive to restorative, to healing rather than hurting. And that, to me, is consonant with what Dr. King talked about in terms of making a place for agape in our lives.
Right. You know, that restorative justice, could you speak on that? Because you've been working on that for a while.
Well, one of the things that really impressed me, I've worked very hard with Precious Blood Ministry for Reconciliation, 51st and Racine, is that here is a way in which things are taken out of the courts and put into the community, where the offender and the person who's harmed get a chance to sit at the table with one another, and the offender makes reparation for whatever harm has been made, and the community supports this process and also demands accountability from the person who is responsible for harm. But at the end, we have healing. And that's so different from our court system, which often fractures relationship, continues to divide. And so I think as a court system, we have to be supportive of restorative justice, where that is a way in which public safety will actually be increased because we're healing rifts within the community, healing the damage that's been done, instead of furthering the division.
You know, I've read a lot about you. One of the things that I see in you is like you have a judicial advocacy. The criminal justice bill that the governor, could you elaborate on that?
July 15th, 2021, Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a restorative justice bill, a bill that I conceived to help our restorative justice courts. We have 4 in Cook County that Judge Evans has opened up, but we have numerous churches and community groups that have restorative justice hubs throughout the city. But without this bill, we couldn't guarantee confidentiality to the process. So an offender or victim who disclosed, because the whole purpose of the process is total honesty, something that could later be used in court, it could be used against them. Now, we've protected all participants in the restorative justice process, so nothing they can say can ever be used against them, and we can actually further the healing process. So I believe that judges should be advocates for social change.
Right.
Make things better, not just leave them as they found them. and I've done that with consumer debt. I've done that with restorative justice, and I've done it with driver safety.
Right.
So all these areas I've tried to make things better and push our legislature, push our Supreme Court to change laws if they're wrong, make things better, make things more just, make things more fair. And I think that's our responsibility as judges, because we know the problems, we see it. So if we don't change it, who will?
Who will? You know, on that I want to say this, Judge. Not only are you a great judge, a God-fearing man, spiritually in tune, he's also a registered voter. And he believes, like I believe, complaining is a dead issue. Being a constructive critic brings about good government and change. I'm glad you're on the bench.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that I'm going to be a part to make sure that you remain on that bench.
Thank you very much,
God
Gator.
be the glory. Appreciate you, man.
Amen.
All right. Oh, man. You know, I'm letting you know about the importance of the judiciary. We see what's happening in the Supreme Court. Voting, you got the power to elect judges that's concerned about justice. Right here. Yes, sir. Hey, this is Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president of United Peace, Inc. And one of the things that my wife told me this morning, Gator, get out there, get to the country club. I said, but boo, I ain't got no golf clubs. I'm gonna need a shovel because it's snowing. She said, no, they celebrating Martin Luther King Day. So I'm here because voting is very important, and the judiciary is very important. And I'm standing here with a friend of mine, Deidre Bowman. Yeah, y'all see me with the button on, but this hurt right here. So I want to let you know that, Deidre, explain to the viewing audience why it's important for you to continue to be in a race for a seat on the behalf of the people.
You know, I've been practicing for 29 years. I've been in almost every courthouse, courtroom, in the Daly Center, 26 in Cal, throughout Cook County, and we need good judges. And I have the experience, the dedication, the commitment to the people of Cook County, and I want to use that commitment, use my extensive experience in the law, to continue to help people, to make this a better place every single day.
Right. You know, one of the things that's very important, you got almost 250,000 votes in the last election. And your street team, Brother Donnell, and a host of others, and the young lady always be with you, the Hispanic sister, what's her name?
Martha.
Martha,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
You be all over Cook County.
That's right.
I want to say this. I believe this is your turn. Don't stop.
I won't.
Let the people see you so they know you. Because it's going to be an addition to that 250,000 votes. And you will be the next, you're going to be another judge. I'm so glad that it's 10 different seats. None of the candidates or none of the clients that I represent will be competing against one another.
That's right.
And that's the greatness.
That is.
And I want to say this. My wife told me to tell you this. Don't stop, get it.
And I will.
Right.
And give her a kiss for me, please.
You know I will. You know I will. You know, you got to bring diversity to the bench in order to get right this government. Go up to, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, I know that there are a lot of elected officials in this room, but I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Alexi Giannoulias, who's our candidate for Secretary of State, a statewide candidate, and Commissioner Donna Miller, who serves with me in the Cook County Board of Commissioners. I know there are others who will acknowledge further the elected in this room, but I want to be sure that I, in addition to our sponsors and co-hosts, I acknowledge the two of them. You know, I'm a history teacher, and my favorite quote quote from Dr. Martin Luther King is, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And I always add that it doesn't bend of its own volition. It takes hard work from all of us, to bend the arc. So I want to thank everybody in this room for the good work that you do each and every day, promoting justice and equity in our communities. I want to particularly acknowledge Pastor Singleton, because I know that he has been a leader in this community in encouraging people to be vaccinated. And the big challenge we face at the moment is getting all of our residents vaccinated and boosted. We have more than 120 people in the hospital, Cook County Hospital, Stroger. One of them, only one of them, has been vaccinated and boosted. 2/3 of them are unvaccinated. 2/3 of the people in our hospital, who are in our hospital, are unvaccinated. It's critical. It's critical, if we're going to mitigate the effects of the pandemic, that we get people vaccinated and boosted. And whenever I speak to folks, I ask them to be evangelists for vaccination. Usually we think of evangelism in religious terms. I'm asking you to be evangelists for vaccination. We're not going to be able to recover, either in terms of health care or our economy, until we get as many people as we possibly can vaccinated. So I'm thankful for your presence here today. I'm grateful to Pastor and First Lady Singleton for bringing us all together, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Yes, this is the Bradley Report, and y'all know I'm Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm the urban translator. I'm also the president of United Peace, Inc. One of the things that's very important, Madam President, we've talked about this, and the importance of people getting vaccinated. Could you explain the importance of them being vaccinated and the fact of what's happening with the Cook County hospital system?
Right. Well, first of all, Gator, thank you very much for having me on your program. I'm grateful. Now, this is a really difficult time for Cook County. We've got more people in our hospital with COVID than any time in the past 2 years. I'm going to say that again. More people with COVID in our hospitals than any time in the past 2 years. And 2/3, 2 out of 3 of every person in the hospital with COVID is unvaccinated. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. 2/3 of the people who are in our hospital with COVID are unvaccinated.
And that makes them really the problem of keeping this virus grow and grow and grow.
That's right. And the more people who are unvaccinated, the more the virus kind of bounces around and has a chance to mutate. And we have a new variant. We've had Delta, we've had Omicron. Who knows, we may have another one, because we've still got a significant portion of our people who are not vaccinated. So whenever I speak, I encourage people to be vaccinated, not just for yourself, but for everybody you care about. Because if you get the disease and maybe it's mild, you may give it to your grandmother or your aunt or your cousin who has some long-standing health issues like diabetes. Many of our folks have diabetes or high blood pressure or asthma, and they may not have a mild case as you would. So you want to protect yourself, and you want to protect everybody you love by being vaccinated.
You know, my viewing audience, I'm vaccinated, car can member. Something else, Cook County Jail. I was reading where the COVID has took an upshot or uptick within there.
Yeah, the problem we have, of course, is the jail reflects the larger population. And when the virus is spreading in the larger population, it's also in the jail. And the difference between people outside the jail and people in is it's a congregate facility. People are kind of packed close together. And so it's harder to keep control of the virus in the jail. So we got to do everything we can to see that the community outside the jail is protected, because that helps protect us everywhere we are, including the jail, detained in the jail.
I want to say on this note, this is the political time of the year. And like I tell my viewing audience, vote, don't choke. What's your message to those that aren't registered, should get registered, by you being the chairman of the Cook County Democratic Party? What's your message to all the voters?
If you want government that cares about you and that acts in your interest, You got to put people in office who care about you and will act in your interests. And the only way you can do that is if you're registered and voting, okay? So I always say the first obligation of any citizen is voting. The second obligation is to help and support people who you believe are good candidates. But first and foremost, you got to vote, and that means you got to be registered.
So if you can't register, you can't
Vote.
scream. No,
That's right.
You can't scream.
That's
if you ain't
right.
registered, you can't scream.
Don't complain, if you aren't voting, okay?
Madam President, again, I want to thank you.
Thanks very much, Gator.
All right, then.
Thank you.
Got one more, last one as we close out. The endorsement of Rena Van Ty. Yeah, hit that right there for me. Hit that one. Then we do Rena. How you doing, man?
How are you,
Well,
sir?
you know, I'm Gator. I'm your friend. I'm a registered voter. And I believe that you're going to be next to the greatest Secretary of State, Jesse White.
Thank you.
Because of the service that I know that you will put in, and I know that you would uphold a legacy that he's going to leave. And I know there's this other guy that's talking about he's Jesse White, but what party does he say he's supposed to be from?
The Libertarian Party.
Okay, that's a party that's trying to confuse the people. That's why I want to let the people know. That other Jesse White, nobody really knows. But this, I believe, is the man that Jesse White knows that will carry on his legacy. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, could you share with me your vision for the Secretary of State?
Well, first of all, it's great to see you. My name is Alexi Janulius, running for Secretary of State, and I want to continue Secretary Jesse White's legacy of public service, what it means to truly help others. We're going to focus on making sure that we fight for voting rights, that we modernize the office so that people aren't waiting 3 hours in line at the DMV anymore. That's going to be an enormously important piece. Also, as the state's librarian, we want to make sure that we have an equitable library system that helps everyone. So I'm excited about the opportunity to continue Jesse White's legacy of public service. I'd be honored to have the support of so many people. And I was raised in a family where we taught the importance of community, helping others, empathy, and being a part of a larger community.
Right. You know, for my viewing audience, I want to share this with you. He and my son went to school at Tulane together. And my son brought to my attention about the little ponytail you used to have on your head when you were playing basketball, man.
Well, I'm a retired basketball player. After I stopped playing professionally, I grew my hair out. That was probably a fashion mistake, but we all learn from our youth.
Right, but one thing for sure, it's not going to be a mistake if you vote for this man to be the next Secretary of State. Let me say that again. It will not be a mistake if you elect this man to become the next Secretary of State. And with that, I want to say that the Bradley Report, to God be the glory, that's our story. Vote, don't choke. There's one up there, Deetra Bowman. Let's see. Yep. No, I'm sorry, not Deetra. Go up some. Go up. No, not that. Rena Van Ty, that's it. Right there. You know, Rena Van Ty is a number one. She's been on the bench for 20 years. She's got all the accolades that you can get. Well qualified, highly qualified. Her bar ratings: Illinois Bar Association, highly qualified. Chicago Bar Association, highly qualified. Chicago Council of Lawyers, well qualified. Hispanic Lawyers Association of Illinois, highly qualified. Puerto Rican Bar Association of Illinois, highly qualified. The Delagrave, which is the Jewish Society of Lawyers, highly qualified. The Lesbian and Gay Bar Association, highly qualified. The Cook County Bar Association, recommended. Women's Bar Association, recommended, highest rating. Black Women's Lawyers, recommended, that's the highest rating. Arab American Bar Association recommended. That's the highest rating they can get. The Helic Bar Association recommend. That's the highest rating they can get. The Asian American Bar Association, she's highly qualified. I want everyone to know, you may see me in pictures with a lot of other people from the time that I took with them. They may have ran other elections. I am 100% for the election of this woman because she is qualified. Okay? I'm asking you to please vote June 28th to elect Cook County Circuit Court Judge Rena Marie Van Tine. Okay? There's a young lady, she's a friend of mine. She may not be a friend of mine anymore because I'm going with the one that's most qualified. And that's the young lady, her name is Wendy Williams. I'm not talking about the celebrity. But this woman here is highly qualified. And you're going to hear more about that. And hey, I got to wrap it up. I got to go. But hey, I want to tell y'all to vote. Think about these judges. I'm going to educate you about the judges. Because they may be at the bottom of the list of people to vote for. But everybody got to come before a judge. And with that, I want to say to God be the glory. That's my story. Don't choke. Vote. Stay covered up. Get your shot. Carry your card. Peace.